Welcome in, everybody, to a little bit of a very quick bonus reaction here on the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. I am Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody is having a great day. And there is a game and an upset that we absolutely have to react to. Drop your comments in the comment section. The game that we are talking about, you don't need me to tell you. How about this? Vanderbilt. The Commodores at home, what were they, about a 24, 25-point underdog, beat Alabama outright in just, listen, the stunningest result of the early college football season. And let me just say what I know everybody is going to say here over the next couple days, the next couple hours into Sunday, every single time that we think on paper there is a quiet day of college football, we are reminded that there is no such thing. So everybody come on in. I'm going to do a quick reaction. I know there's some night games. Obviously, also on top of that, we'll have the full Aaron Torres pod tomorrow. But let's just go ahead and dive in, because this was a game where, listen, I'll be honest. Listen, you guys and girls all listen to the Aaron Torres pod, the college football betting show. We didn't even touch this game. I just kind of overlooked it as Bama took care of Georgia. Unbelievable finish last week. And you start to look at everything else. Could Ole Miss get upset at South Carolina? That wasn't an issue. What about Texas A&M, Missouri? Even the Deep South's oldest rivalry was a game that was a little bit on my radar. And the Alabama-Vandy game was just like, listen, I think Vandy's going to cover. But, whatever. It's going to be, 27-10 Bama. And I know that Vandy has been playing better of late, but that was not the case on Saturday, because we not only have an upset, we have an upset in a manner in which Vanderbilt from start to finish was simply the better team, and I would argue had a great game plan to go ahead and pull off the upset. By the way, as I'm recording here, I see the post-game celebration on the field, saw Diego Pavia break out the F-bomb on national TV. I love everything about it, baby. So everybody come on in. Let's discuss this game. And this was a game, listen, what did we just say? Vandy 24, 23.5 point underdog, whatever they were. From the beginning, I mean, literally from the beginning, it was like, oh, this is going to be a little bit different. Vandy obviously scores on the opening drive. Then they have the pick six. They do miss the extra point, but all of a sudden you're looking up, you're like, oh my God, Vandy, what the heck? They're up 13-0. But I'll be honest, throughout the day, throughout the evening, throughout the afternoon, it just felt like a game where I just kind of always had it on the second TV. I'm watching Ohio State, Iowa. I'm watching Ole Miss, South Carolina, Georgia, Auburn, kind of just thinking at some point Bama is going to make their run. And it never really happened. And I think what was most impressive to me was that every time Bama did make a play, Vanderbilt had the answer, right? Like I said, they jump out to a 13-0 lead. All of a sudden, by late first half, early second half, it's 24-13 going into 23-14 going into the half. Bama scores right out of the gate. You think, okay, here's the run coming from Bama. Nope. Vanderbilt gets a couple stops. They score. They go up 30-21. Then Bama with the immediate response from Milroe to Ryan Williams, and it's 30-28. And again, you sit there and say, okay, this is it. We're going into the fourth. It's a 2-point game. Alabama is going to make their run. And instead, it's the exact opposite. Field goal for Vanderbilt. From there, there is the fumble from Bama, recovered by Vandy. Another touchdown. They go up 40-28. And even when Ryan Williams had that sick end around, and I saw the reaction on social media, oh, if they mess that play up, DeBoer's a fool, whatever. I don't buy it. It was a clever play call. It worked. They cut the lead to 40-35. And even then, you still thought, okay, Bama's got all 3 timeouts. They got the 2-minute timeout. This thing's going to work out okay. Instead, after that weird first play, I love Cole Kublik, my buddy, saying on air, listen, they've used first down to kind of get a feel for this Alabama defense the entire game. So what happens immediately after that? Again, the first play, you sit there and say, okay, Alabama stops them once, 3 timeouts, the 2-minute warning. Can't call it that in college football. Next thing you know, Pavia hits a deep pass to Cedric Alexander, 19 yards, first down. You get to the 2-minute timeout. And again, Alabama's sitting there saying, well, if we could just get one stop, we'll be okay. Instead, after the second down play, there is a big play from Vanderbilt, which seals the victory. And so when I look at this, couple things stand out. One, and by the way, drop your comments in. I see the chat is humming here. We'll get to that in a second. When I look at this result, a couple things stand out to me immediately. One, first of all, let's just give Vanderbilt credit, okay? This is a team. They have struggled. I thought Tom Hart and Kublik talked about it a lot on the broadcast. They have changed everything about what they do. And listen, I'll say this, is that it is, I think among the toughest jobs in all of college football. This is a program that obviously has been ravaged by the portal, backup quarterback. I think, what was it? The first top three quarterbacks on last year's roster all left. And it's not a place that you can just go pick up dudes out of the portal from wherever. So, NIL is an issue. And so the idea that this program in one offseason has kind of figured it out is absolutely incredible. I give Clark Lee and his staff credit. And the crazy part was also, we kind of knew they were on the cusp, right? Early in the season, that week, week 1 win against Virginia Tech. That's impressive. Then the Missouri game, they probably should have won that game. Easily could have won it. Missouri, they win this game to go to 3-2. And obviously, first win over a number 1 ranked team since whatever it was, 1975, 76, whatever the situation was. Congrats to them. All of a sudden, you're looking up. They got Ball State next weekend. That should get them to 4-2. And, you look at the rest of the schedule. South Carolina at home doesn't look unbeatable. Auburn on the road doesn't look unbeatable. Can they get to those 6 wins? Can they get to a bowl game? Incredible moment for that program. But we do got to talk about it from the Alabama perspective as well. Listen, I love Bama. I love DeBoer. I have been the number 1 Kalen DeBoer supporter, since the moment in time that he got that job. I said he's the right guy. There's not going to be a drop-off. He has the incredible win last week against Georgia. But at the same time, a couple things. One, the SEC is just pretty darn good, right? It's just hard. You can't take a week off. I think that was one of Nick Saban's greatest gifts. There was never a letdown. There was never a weak moment. There were times that he lost. Very rarely did he just lose to a team that was inferior to him because his team wasn't ready to go. Doesn't mean that DeBoer's a terrible coach, nothing like that. But then you go deeper into it, and a couple things stand out. First off, Vandy had the perfect game plan for this team, this Alabama team. Keep the ball away from them. The time of possession stats were insane. Let me find the final time of possession stats here. How about this? Vandy had the ball for 42:08, only 17:52 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So that's one, more than a 2-1 time of possession battle. But two, what I'll say, and I've been consistent with this, is listen, I said it on the show last week. I heard all of these narratives of Bama's win over Georgia. It proves that Bama's number 1 and Georgia should be number 2. Well, first of all, I think Georgia's fine. I don't think there's literally anything special about them at all. I shouldn't have said literally, but you get the point. But two, also, even with Bama, love Kalen DeBoer. Love that program. Love what he has done in that transition. But they're not a flawless team. And as a matter of fact, even after beating Georgia, I'm part of the AJC Power Poll every week. There's about 7-8 media members that rank the SEC every single week. I still had Alabama at number 3, Texas, Tennessee ahead of them. And by the way, Tennessee's playing right now, so if they lose against Arkansas, I'm going to look like a dummy. But I just bring it up because I don't think this is a flawless team. It was a great win over Georgia. They jumped out to a huge lead. Georgia also made a comeback down 28-0. And so I think this is a good team. But Jalen Milroe, listen, he's very talented. There are strengths. There are weaknesses that can at times be accentuated. Really, I think Ryan Williams has largely kind of bailed that team out consistently, time and time again. Bailed them out against Georgia. Bailed them out against South Florida when they needed to play. I think that they run the ball really well. They have one great wide receiver, and DeBoer is doing everything he can with Jalen Milroe. But that does not mean that they have Quinn Ewers, a bunch like the point I'm trying to make is I think the margin for error at Bama is smaller than I think a lot of people think and a lot of people realize. Now, the good news, this is a 12-team playoff era. The good news, you still hold a tiebreaker against Georgia if it comes down to an SEC championship game or if you're battling for an at-large bid, and I do think it matters. But we also know schedule is not easy. The big one in a couple weeks at Tennessee. Woo, buddy, that is going to be a tough one. Again, recording as Tennessee is kicking off against Arkansas. So if you watch this later and all of a sudden you're sitting there saying, Torres, Arkansas is up 20-6. What are you talking about? I'm not saying that. The point I'm trying to make, Tennessee is going to be a really tough game. Tennessee's a really good football team. Beyond that, though, the good thing for them, I still think there's some issues with some of the other teams that they play. Oklahoma on the road, I get it. Oklahoma doesn't have a quarterback right now. They don't have an O-line right now. Michael Hawkins Jr. is doing as well as he can, but he's pretty limited in what he can do. And then LSU, I think it's a wait-and-see approach. I don't really trust them. I think it's, you don't want to start over-comparing everything, but LSU barely survived against South Carolina, the same team that got blown out by Ole Miss on Saturday. So I just bring it up because Alabama, everything is still ahead for you, but this team does not look to me like, one that is absolutely unbeatable in any way, shape, or form. Let's get to some of your questions. Really do appreciate everybody chiming in here. Everybody come on in. Let's get into some of those questions here, and we will do it in just a moment. By the way, before we do it, which sounded weird, but it's not intended to be, do as always, give me 1 second. I do want to, give me one sec. Let's see here. Oh, what is that? Oh, I know exactly what that is, people. That is our new partner, BlueChew. Love working with BlueChew. Appreciate BlueChew's support of the Aaron Torres pod. Let me say this. We'll continue the Alabama conversation in a minute. Before we do, want to welcome in BlueChew as a new sponsor. Fellas, and we've talked about it. Remember the days when you were always ready to go? Well, times change. You're football. Maybe you're a Bama fan. You're not going to be that fired up tonight to, take care of business. That's where BlueChew comes in. BlueChew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. To get started with BlueChew, it's easy. Just go to BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No awkward trips to the doctors, no waiting at a pharmacy, no stink eyes, no raised eyebrows, no nothing. Well, that's the great part about BlueChew. I know what you're probably wondering, though. Torres, does it work? All I can say is try it for a month for free, and you'll see you're going to love it. Your partner's going to love it. You might be a Bama fan that's sad right now, but I promise your partner will be smiling like, it's 2012 and Nick Saban and A.J. McCarron are on the sidelines, okay? So try out BlueChew, and the great part is we have a special deal for listeners of this show. Try BlueChew for free when you use our promo code Torres at checkout. All you got to do is pay $5 in shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code Torres to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank BlueChew for sponsoring the Aaron Torres pod. All right, let's go ahead and get to a couple of your questions. Appreciate everybody coming in here on a Saturday night. And I tell you, man, we got a lot to react to. There's a lot of games still going on. We'll have a full show on Saturday evening, by the way. Let's get to some of your questions. Ben Tyndall says, beyond stunning. Listen, I told you, we've talked about a lot of games on this channel all week long. This was just one I did not have on my radar. I mean, you pick a game. Florida, UCF, Auburn, Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa. This was just a game that I just kind of pushed off as like, dude, it's going to be over. It's going to be a wrap. We get home. We get to watch the late games, all that good stuff. That has certainly not happened. B. Thomas with the most important point of college football, any given Saturday. That is right. Nothing else to say. On any given Saturday, anything can happen, and that is exactly what happened with Alabama. But credit to Vandy as well, because I don't know what else there is to say other than that it was just an incredible performance. They had the perfect game plan. They executed it. They deserve to win. Here we go. Benjamin Bush, great point. Great point. He says the SEC is absolutely nuts this year. And listen, I agree 100%. And the one thing I'll say about the SEC, I do think, and again, Tennessee and Arkansas are playing right now. There is a chance by the end of tonight, I could look like a total idiot and Tennessee loses 24-10 and I look stupid, okay? But I do think there is a clear top two. I think it's Texas and Tennessee. Texas has a very advantageous schedule. Now, Tennessee, if they take care of business tonight, they still have Bama at home, Georgia on the road, among others. But I just bring it up because anybody else on any given Saturday can take care of business, right? Let's just think about this. Just think about this simplistic thought. South Carolina destroys Kentucky at Kentucky. Kentucky loses or beats Ole Miss at Ole Miss. I wouldn't say destroys, but they were the better team. They deserve to win. So what happens? South Carolina at home, Ole Miss a week later, destroys South Carolina at home. That's just a perfect example. Vandy's clearly capable of beating anybody. Listen, A&M, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show. I think they're in the short conversation. They're going to enter November potentially with a chance to be in the playoff conversation. 5-1 right now. Their remaining SEC road games are Mississippi State, Auburn, and South Carolina. Those are 3 winnable games for Texas A&M on the road, plus LSU and Texas at home. And so I just bring it up because you start to look around, all of a sudden, there just aren't a lot of gimmies in this league on any given Saturday. Again, maybe Mississippi State, even Auburn, like make fun of Auburn. They could have won the Cal game. They could have won what was last week, the Oklahoma game. And then Saturday, they gave Georgia mostly what they could handle. It was 14-10, middle of the third quarter and late third quarter. So you look at the SEC, I think there's a clear top two, Texas and Tennessee. And then after that, I think there is a big gap. Will Tennessee get upset tonight? Listen, Paul, I don't know what there is to say. Let's see if there's a score as of right now. 3-0 Arkansas, baby. So who knows? Maybe we will get an upset. I don't see it, but who knows? Let's keep it going. That game was lost by the defense. Milroe did his job. Yeah, no. I wasn't being critical of Jalen Milroe. All I said is that every time you thought Bama was making a run, there was that stretch in the middle of the third quarter, field goal, turnover by Alabama, and then touchdown by Vandy. But I agree, couldn't get Vandy off the field. I mean, look at the final stat line. And I know I don't want to be a box score watcher, but Vandy, 166 yards rushing on the ground. Diego Pavia, 16 of 21. I don't know what else there is to say other than that the deserving team won, and Alabama just didn't have an answer. Pavia, by the way, incredible story. Everybody knows it, was at New Mexico State, wanted to play in the SEC, dreamed about it, all that good stuff. And you just talk about just an incredible performance by Pavia. Vandy deserved to win. There's nothing else to say other than that Vandy deserved to win. They were the better team on Saturday. And now Alabama, listen, the good thing is, like I said, I think some of those games that looked really tough early in the season, maybe not so much. At Oklahoma doesn't look as tough as it did. Missouri at home, South Carolina at home next week. Those are all winnable games, but you really have very little margin for error. And again, by the way, this will be my last thought and then we'll get out of here, is when you look at the 12-team playoff, I was one of those people, is it going to impact the regular season? What does it all mean? But all of a sudden you lose games you're not supposed to. It puts you on the brink, right? Alabama now, they could be okay, but still have at Tennessee. They still have at LSU. All of a sudden you lose those two. You're 9-3. You could be on the outside looking in. Missouri losing to A&M. Same deal. Missouri doesn't have a lot of great chances for a resume building win. Ole Miss losing to Kentucky. All of a sudden now Ole Miss has Georgia at home. They got a couple tough games. There's no easy games. And I do think the margin for error is smaller than we think. So I'll tell you what, let's see if there's any last questions before we get out of here. Vandy will lose Corey says Vandy will lose every game from now on. And I like this comment. Went from being the nation's best third down defense to one of the worst in this game. And to Corey's point, Vandy, 12 of 18 on third down. You could not get them off the field. That's the time of possession. Benjamin adds, by the way, as a Kentucky fan, I'm a little worried about Vandy. You should be. All right. I'll tell you what, I think that's it. I am going to get out of here. We will have more reaction on Sunday night's Aaron Torres pod. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We got a great live crowd here on a Saturday afternoon. We'll be back Appreciate you. And I can't